Hey, good morning, everyone. Happy Friday to you. Josh of Severe Weather reporting from Raleigh, North Carolina, the capital of pollen and no snow in February, apparently. Well, no, I'm not the only one, but yes, it's been a while since we've seen snow in Raleigh. I was just seeing a post from another weather fanatic saying, looks like our potential for snow in the Raleigh area and probably surrounding areas as well for the rest of winter is looking pretty much minuscule. And last winter we complained because we thought we were going to get some snow and we just got some flurries. This year we haven't even gotten that. And I think we're done. However, some of you folks that have not seen nearly enough snow compared to maybe what you're used to are going to be in for some of that here later today and tonight. And the amount of snow is climbing. The risk for the amount of snow is climbing in a couple of areas that I'm watching for you guys. A clipper system, yes, but one that is strengthening and moving pretty quickly here across the Ohio Valley into the Mid-Atlantic region is going to bring us a significant amount of snow. This map indicates the probabilities of 4 inches or more of snow falling, and that risk has climbed over parts of east central Missouri, north of St. Louis, over to Springfield and Decatur, even central Indiana. I know I'm hearing from a lot of you guys, southwest Ohio as well, but we do see a pretty decent chance here for amounts to continue to climb. Then, as we get into this evening and later tonight, even better chances for parts of the Mid Atlantic region, West Virginia, Northern Virginia, Northern and Central Maryland, Southern and Central Pennsylvania, even Northern Delaware and Central New Jersey are going to be dealing with a significant amount of snow falling here, at least a few inches here as we get later into the night tonight and early in the day tomorrow. So better prospects for us coming here. Here's a look at the current satellite showing you guys systems across the globe here. And you can see, let me get my pen out for you guys here. You can see this is our Clipper system right here, moving very quickly right across the central part of the country. It'll be moving off the coast tomorrow morning. The remains of our bomb cyclone spinning east of Newfoundland, that will be heading up here towards Iceland. Another powerful storm just off the west coast. That is going to be sending a big amount of moisture into California here early next week. And the subtropics still remain active. Lots of moisture coming in across Texas, across Mexico, and heading into the Gulf states. Now, interestingly, across the rest of the globe here, you know what? I got to stop my pen before I even show you anything more. I love this program. Sing a tune in your head for me. Why don't you? There it is. You guys can't see what I can see, but that's okay. All righty. Moving across the rest of the globe, the tropics are getting busy in the southern part of the United States, or southern part of the world, not the U.S. We do have a tropical cyclone heading for the Cook Islands. It's not strong. Winds are about 50 miles per hour, but another system to watch moving into northern Australia where the rain has been very wet here this summer. It is summer, yes, still across northern parts of Australia. And the Northern Territory will have some significant amounts of rain. Not a lot of wind from this. And then we have a strengthening cyclone over the South Pacific, not going to impact land. This is Jung-gu, I believe, and that is expected to be an intense tropical cyclone over the southern Indian Ocean here in a couple of days. So lots going on in the world, even the U.S. getting in on a lot of weather. Canada is actually pretty quiet for the time being. Mild temperatures for this time of year across Canada as our storm has left Newfoundland. Closer to us here in the U.S., I'm assuming a lot of you are in the U.S., and if you're not, welcome. But here is where we see our features. A system that brought a little bit of snow and a few squalls into parts of the Northeast yesterday is leaving northern New England and will brush New Brunswick and Nova Scotia here today. Here's our Clipper system. You can see things are moving along very quickly. This is going to track quickly over the Ohio River and Tennessee River valleys today. And there will be some moisture out of the southwest that links up with it. So we are going to see a few thunderstorms on the southern side of this. But primarily, this is going to be known for the snow it's going to bring on its northern track right across this region and here later today into tonight. And then here comes our next feature, and this is going to bring lots of moisture into the west coast here over the next few days. Heavy rain coming for California. It's going to cause some more problems, especially for central and northern Cal and southwest Oregon over the coming days. Here's a look at our watch and warnings, and the pinks indicate winter storm our winter weather advisories. So we see those advisories from Missouri straight over to New Jersey, Delaware, and even southeastern Maryland. Inside of that, winter storm watch over southern central parts of Pennsylvania, northern Maryland, northern Virginia, winter storm warnings over the mountains of western Maryland, eastern West Virginia, and even to the west of Harrisonburg in Virginia, the higher elevations primarily. And we see a winter storm warning here as well across the Blue Ridge here just east of the Shenandoah Valley. We also have some winter weather expected across northern New England. I know some of you in Vermont have been commenting about the lack of snow. Same for Maine. We do have an advisory out for today as our first feature still affecting this area, and we're going to have some cold air pouring in off the lakes, bringing more snow to areas downwind of Lake Ontario, primarily north of Syracuse, around Watertown, and over to the Tug Hill Plateau. Out west, we see more of that. We have a winter storm warning over parts of central Oregon, the higher elevations, of course, as well as the interior of the Northwest and just to the west of Cheyenne, Wyoming. Winter weather advisories in effect across the rest of these higher elevations from Idaho all the way over to Nebraska, and a winter storm watch for the big storm coming in this weekend to the Sierra Nevada, with a flash flood watch across central California down to just very close to Santa Barbara and the higher elevations here near the Grapevine of California. Big storm on its way. We are going to see a likely impact, snow-covered roads today across, sorry about this transparency, but today across east central Missouri over to Springfield, Illinois, and getting into Indianapolis as well. Expect some difficult travel across this region throughout the day today, ending tonight. And then later on this evening, and especially later tonight, we are going to see significant impacts for snow falling along and east of I-79 all the way over to the Pennsylvania Turnpike. And yes, getting into New Jersey, although unfortunately those of you at the shore are not going to see nearly as much snow as you probably want to see. But you are still going to see some impact from this storm late tonight and for the first part of the day tomorrow. That extends all the way up to New York City and Long Island. We will see snow here. It's not going to be a big deal, but it will be enough to cause some slippery roads and some icy travel in the morning tomorrow. Even before the sun comes up, that's when conditions will probably be at their worst. But this falls short of getting into the Boston area and across most of Rhode Island, as this storm is likely aimed to your south. Here's a look at the big picture, and then I'm going to get into more detail. Here's our Clipper system moving across the Tennessee and Kentucky border today into tonight. It'll strengthen as it does so, moving offshore of the Delmarva here early in the day tomorrow. This is about 7 in the morning. And then, as you would expect, it is going to strengthen after it leaves the country and tracks southeast of Atlantic Canada. We do see behind it chillier air for the weekend. A weak Clipper is going to drop through eastern Canada later in the weekend, producing some snow by Sunday into early Monday over the northeast, well to the north and west of 95, mainly talking northern New England and upstate New York. At the same time, we are going to see wet weather tracking through the Gulf, major winds offshore here, cooler temperatures for the Gulf Coast, and a cool rain across much of Florida. Now, today, models have shifted things a little farther south of I-4 for Sunday, giving us a little bit more hope and promise in Daytona for Sunday's race. However, still going to be wet and cool, although the heaviest rain is expected to fall in places like Sarasota and over to Melbourne, Vero Beach, and probably down to Port St. Lucie as well. And then southeast Florida could see some stronger amounts of rain and maybe even some thunderstorms here Sunday afternoon and Sunday night before this low exits. And then that heads offshore. Next week, the weather starts out quiet for most of us. It gets busier, though, later in the week. The West Coast storm is going to be moving into the plains here by Wednesday night and Thursday. Not a big severe weather maker at this point, but there could be a few thunderstorms. Interestingly, there's also some cold air that will drop down through the Hudson Bay and may try to get this system to try to phase here by Friday and Saturday. So we could have a winter storm in the Northeast, although at this point, certainty level is extremely low. You saw what happened Monday and Tuesday with how certain things can be that short in advance. So trying to figure this out a week or more in advance is not going to be an exact science. So keep it tuned here next week. I will have videos for you once we get a little bit better handle on what's going to happen. But please know that what you see today is likely going to change. After that, I think we are going to be in for a quieter weather pattern at the end of February for the central and eastern U.S. as things are going to warm up. Here's a look at the European, same time frame, next 10 days. Here's our storm moving through the mid-Atlantic region tonight. Here's our next Clipper dropping down through the upper Great Lakes into New England on Sunday, and rain moving through Florida and the Gulf Coast region. The European is a little bit less intense on rain totals Saturday night and Sunday across Florida, but still has some heavy rain. That storm exits early next week, and then we see our big storm out west begin to emerge onto the plains. And this track on the European is farther south than the GFS. It's GFS, or the European, takes the cold that's coming into eastern Canada and actually advances it faster and has it in place in time for the storm, which could be very interesting for some of us here in the Northeast as we get to next Thursday night and Friday. Now, I think the European is probably too far south. It tried to do the same thing with us here on Sunday and Monday here coming up a few days ago. If you remember that, it was teasing us with some winter weather potential in the Mid-Atlantic and Carolinas. So at this point, I'm not trusting it, but it is something we're going to be watching here. This is showing snow for Virginia, the Delmarva, South Jersey, and then coming up through coastal New England for Friday, Thursday night and Friday of next week. Again, that's a week away, so it's going to change. The Canadian, though, is kind of in between, and I'm not saying it's right. It's still 9 days away, but it is definitely locked into a solution that's kind of a happy medium as we get to next week. Low pressure tracking through Kentucky Thursday night. Cold air following right behind it into Michigan and Illinois. You'll probably see some snow across the Great Lakes at the end of next week. And then you'll see the Canadian tracks this storm right along I-95, meaning rain for the big cities, but heavy snow for New England and a strengthening storm system. So that's kind of a mix of the two. It's kind of a halfway between the GFS, which has more of the snow farther back and farther north, and the European, which brings it quite a bit farther south than what I think is going to happen. This is the Canadian. I'm not saying it's right, but it's a good kind of a middle ground forecast here for next Friday. So a week away, we've got time to watch it. This will likely change because we're trying to track features that aren't even in the picture just yet. So anyway, that's the longer range. Let's talk about the storm today and tonight. We'll start out here across the Midwest and the Tennessee Valley. And here is snow overspreading northern Missouri and central Illinois this morning. This is 7 a.m. Central, so probably when you're opening up this video, you see the snow rates picking up in places like Springfield, over to Lafayette, and eventually Terre Haute, Indiana. This is going to be 11 a.m. today, and then this is lunchtime. Snow should pick up late morning around Indianapolis, and then in the afternoon south of Indianapolis and across parts of southern Illinois. This orange indicates some sleet. I don't think that's necessarily happening. It may just be rain mixing with wet snow and then going over to snow at the very back side. But for the Boot Heel, not really much snow expected. Paducah, not much snow. You'll see maybe a brief burst of it around 5 or 6 o'clock. And then things are going to wind down here from west to east as we get to late this evening. This time frame, 11 o'clock Eastern, 10 o'clock Central here. So for most of us, from Missouri into Southwest Ohio, we're looking at about 4 to 6 inches or 4 to 6 hours of snow. There will be some places here that get a little bit more, and so you will have some enhancement in how much snow you see. This is how much snow is expected to stick. More will fall, but I want to show you how much I think is going to accumulate. Generally speaking, a band of 3 inches here over north central Missouri, right on through central Illinois, including Springfield, over to Indianapolis. The potential now to see about 3 inches of accumulation, probably more falls. So we're getting up there. We're getting close to winter storm warning here. Not quite. You need about 6 inches for that, but definitely these totals have come up from what we've seen here in the last couple of days. Even this band down here south of St. Louis, it's almost like a windshield wiper where there's one that goes north of St. Louis, one that goes south, and you get very little in between. But even down here, places like Festus, we could see a couple of inches of snow. Down to the Ohio River, about an inch. Northern Kentucky, including Louisville and Lexington, we are now seeing about 1.5 inches to 2 inches of accumulation expected here late today into tonight. So these totals have come up some. All right, let's advance to the east here, and we'll look at what's going on across the Mid-Atlantic region. Snow will spread into the Columbus, Ohio area around 2 o'clock this afternoon, and then approaching the Pittsburgh area right around sunset tonight. We will see probably about 4 to 6 hours of snow as well over the southern half of Pennsylvania. And overall, the snow shield has shifted a bit farther north, giving us a little bit more promise to see accumulation up towards the Interstate 80 corridor. Certainly the turnpike is going to be a snowy mess tonight, but farther north, where ratios are a little bit higher as the air is colder, we are going to see a little bit better chance to see accumulation. But the snow will actually come down pretty hard here on the I-64 corridor around 9 and 10 o'clock tonight. Huntington over to Charleston and right up the I-79 corridor all the way up to Morgantown and just south of Pittsburgh. It is going to be snowing pretty well here, moderate to heavy through the evening hours. And there could even be a few lightning strikes in here, believe it or not, as the storm strengthens. There will be enough instability maybe for a little bit of lightning somewhere in this region. Probably not much, but at least a little bit. As we get into the evening hours, this is 10 o'clock tonight. We'll start to see snow getting past the mountains of West Virginia and moving into northern Virginia here around 11 and then midnight. It could come down pretty hard in places like Charlottesville, Harrisonburg, Stanton, even all the way up to Luray and Winchester around midnight tonight, and then spreading into central Maryland. The I-95 corridor may briefly get some rain, but going over to snow, basically from Fredericksburg all the way up to Baltimore. We see that changeover right around 1 in the morning. Snow advancing into parts of the Delaware Valley as well. Starting out in the northern suburbs of Philly around midnight, and then coming down harder overnight tonight and early in the morning tomorrow across this entire region. This deep blue color that you see here from Charlottesville over to Stafford, over to Fairfax County, over to Baltimore, DC, and over onto the eastern shore of Maryland and into central parts of Delaware indicates some significant snow coming down around 1 inch per hour. So traveling tomorrow morning around 3 in the morning is not encouraged across this area. Farther south and west, down I-81, we could see a little bit of snow, but once you get into the higher ground, west of Boone is our best chance. Asheville, we're not going to see any snow out of this, unfortunately. This snow continues at its heaviest across the Delmarva and across South Jersey around 4, 5, 6 in the morning, and then begins to let up here right after daybreak. Actually, it will still be snowing some in the morning tomorrow, so don't expect this to just go away quickly in eastern PA, northeastern Maryland, Delaware, or South Jersey tomorrow. We will continue to see some snow in the morning, and it may take until about lunchtime before we start to see some peaks in the cloud cover. At that point, we will have a significant amount of accumulation. Here's a look at what the HRRR is dropping on us here as far as accumulation goes, and these totals have come up. And you'll see generally a band of about 3 inches right across central Ohio, and then over to about Pittsburgh, higher amounts south of you in PGH, in the mountains, 6, maybe 8 inches accumulation across the Laurel Highlands and down into the ski areas of West Virginia. And we could even see as much as 10 inches sticking. 6 inches in Western Maryland. When you get over to Hagerstown, those amounts come down below 3. But still not a bad snowfall for this area. Right on top of what we saw a few days ago, which is already melted. This will probably stick around longer because it'll be a fluffier snow with higher ratios. Even around Reading and Allentown, a few inches here. Philly showing 2 inches proper. Baltimore about 1.5 inches at the Inner Harbor. DC 1.5 inches. Annapolis about 1 inch. Eastern Shore, we see amounts that are generally 1 to 2 inches. Southeastern Maryland, though, around Ocean City and Berlin, probably less than 1 inch will stick. And even Southern Maryland, all the way down to the Potomac, we are probably going to see some snow sticking here, but not a big deal at this point. Richmond area, right now, we may see flakes late in the night tonight, early tomorrow morning. At this point, I don't think we see anything sticking south of places like Ruth or Glen or the Northern Neck at this point. I mean, we may see a little bit, but I don't think it's going to stick around much here. Here's a look at the rest of the north. Whoops. Sorry about that. Okay. And the rest of the Northeast here, we are seeing snow exiting Maine this morning. We do see a light band of snow across upstate New York, but that will be falling apart. And then snow showers coming in off of Lake Ontario here. But we can see the snow shield advances into New Jersey, into the New York City area here, right around midnight, maybe just before, and then on to Long Island overnight tonight. Connecticut, the Hudson Valley are going to see some snow falling for a few hours here overnight. And then even tomorrow morning, we will still see some snow across the Poconos, Catskills, even the Hudson Valley. The heaviest of snow for the Jersey Shore is going to fall between about 6 and 8 in the morning tomorrow. Same goes for Long Island. And then we're just going to see a little bit of leftover light snow falling, continuing until about lunchtime. And then some instability snow showers coming in and off the lake. Some of these could produce some low visibility. So if you are planning to travel the New York State Thruway tomorrow, even after the main storm has exited the coast, we are going to see some snow showers that could drop your visibility. So you may want to reconsider those plans, or at least keep a very close eye on local weather statements as this moves through the area. It's going to continue into the evening hours before things do finally settle down. Here's a look at snow totals. Our first clipper bringing a couple of inches to the higher elevations here. 1 inch or so around the capital district of Maine, and northern New Hampshire and northern Vermont will see a little bit of snow. And there's a bit of a band that makes it all the way here close to Nashua and Manchester here in New Hampshire this morning. But the main features coming in here tonight and then tomorrow morning. And generally speaking, west of the Hudson, a couple of inches expected. Higher elevations could see 4 to 5 inches. Connecticut, southern and western parts of New England, around 1 inch. Cape Cod around 1 inch, but Boston, again, it looks like we're pretty much missing out on a big snowfall here. In fact, we may not really see much anything falling in Boston. So just an unusual storm track over the last week here. where we've just kind of missed out here across eastern Massachusetts. And unfortunately, if you want to see snow, this is not going to be your storm either. For Atlantic Canada, we are seeing the snow piling up over northern parts of Newfoundland and Labrador. We are going to see a little bit more coming here later in the weekend. This clipper will bring us a couple of centimeters across Nova Scotia, about a centimeter or two across New Brunswick. Not a big deal, but southeastern parts of Newfoundland do have the potential to see between 8 and 16 centimeters of accumulation. And the majority of that actually is going to be on Sunday and early on Monday as well. All right, so done talking about snow. Let's take a look at rain. We are going to see some of that as well, and maybe some thunderstorms here this afternoon over northern Arkansas, southeast Missouri, western Tennessee, southwest Kentucky. Even though temperatures are going to be dropping like a rock, there is enough instability for that to happen. And then we may see showers and storms all the way into southeastern Arkansas, northern Mississippi, northwest parts of Alabama, and middle Tennessee here towards the end of the day today into early this evening. And then you can see things do fade after that. We do have some lightning potential with these, probably not any severe weather, but you can see the lightning potential starts to climb around lunchtime in northwest Arkansas in the Ozarks region. And then as we get into the afternoon, we could even see some lightning over downstate Illinois where there could be some snow. So this area in here, we're going to watch south of I-70 for thunder and snow falling at the same time. But most of our thunderstorms are going to be on the warm side of this over northwestern Tennessee, western Kentucky. And then as we get to about 6 o'clock here this evening, moving into the Delta region, into middle Tennessee. And after about sunset, we lose that risk of major instability. And you can see the model no longer showing really any significant lightning strikes. That doesn't mean it won't happen, but it's not as likely at that point. Here's a look at our future radar here through the day today. Rain could be briefly heavy here this evening. You can see the storms crossing the Mississippi here, moving into western Tennessee towards Jackson and Nashville right around sunset. So do expect some delays because of the rain and maybe some thunderstorms, but not a big severe weather outbreak. I'm not expecting any tornadoes out of this, maybe a brief amount of hail or maybe a briefly strong wind gust, but nothing like the storm that we had a few days ago. And then things are going to quiet down here this evening. Farther south, we lose some punch with this storm as it gets farther south and east. A lot of the reason for that is that after we lose our daylight here at 7 o'clock, we lose a lot of instability, but there could still be some heavy rainfall here. It'll fall apart by the time it gets to about I-20, just some light rain overnight across central Alabama and then southern Alabama late in the night tonight, early in the day tomorrow. And then in Arkansas and the Ozarks region, we are going to see the potential for a little bit of hail in here, north and west of Mountain Home, east of Rogers, but mainly just scattered showers and storms overnight or during the afternoon hours, and then falling apart overnight after things roll through. All right, the Gulf Coast is going to be wet. We see heavy rain in South Texas, advancing into Louisiana and into the eastern Gulf states. It gets pretty wet in central Florida here overnight tonight and especially tomorrow. And then central and South Florida on Sunday, amounts are generally speaking going to be 1 to 2 inches. Some places could see 3 or 4. So a really nasty weekend in Florida. Unfortunately, when you get north of I-10, those amounts are going to be pretty light at this point, but it will stay pretty cloudy. And then out west, big storm moves in. I've talked about this for a few days, but California, get ready and brace yourself for more heavy rain, especially Sunday and Monday. And even into the middle of the week, we are going to see instability that produces some rain, maybe some thunderstorms and strong winds at the coast. Heavy amounts of snow are expected here across the Sierra Nevada and the interior of the West. That's where our snow is, not in the east or the south, but in the West, as we see the potential for up to 80 inches of snow across the Sierra Nevada, up to 30 inches in the Utah, Wyoming, Idaho range, and 20 to 30 inches as well across parts of Colorado. So the ski areas will be happy with this forecast. We see chilly weather across the south and east this weekend behind our clipper. And next week is not going to be super warm in the east. It will not be as cold, but we do see moderation very quickly over the central United States, well above average in Iowa, Minnesota, Texas. We are running 20 to 30 degrees above average. We do see some cooler weather coming in to the eastern U.S. at the end of the week briefly, and this is going to set up our potential for maybe a winter storm on Friday, followed by chill, but it's not going to last too long. As we get to the end of the month of February, it does warm right back up, as much of the eastern half of the country is above average, much of the west is below average, and this does not bode well for winter weather across the southeast. And Evan Fisher, meteorologist out of Asheville, made a nice little map I wanted to share with you guys. I give him all the credit for this, but the area that is in the biggest snow drought is right on this line here from Asheville and Brevard North Carolina, right up into places like Danville and Martinsville, Virginia, and into southeastern Maryland here. This is the area that has not seen snow in probably a couple of years at this point. In east central Georgia and into the Midlands of Carolina, we're in a snow drought as well. And Florida, we don't really need to talk about snow droughts because we've been in one for a very long time. Same for Southeast Louisiana, deep South Texas. But a lot of you guys still haven't seen an inch of snow in a while. That includes portions of central Ohio, and that drought may come to an end here this evening. This area here, I'm not as excited about seeing significant snow, but you will see a little bit here as well. So neat little map here, but I'm going to move on here, and I wish you guys a great Friday. Thank you so much for your time. If you did enjoy this video, please consider becoming a subscriber. I thank you as always, and I give all the glory to God and my Savior, Jesus Christ, who has blessed me with this ability here to share with you guys publicly on YouTube. God promised us that he would not destroy the earth. I know there's a lot of talk about climate change. My stance on it is this: the climate has always changed naturally. What we're doing to contribute to it is an extremely small amount of that. We are in a warming phase now, but as the poles continue to warm, what that'll allow to happen is ice to melt and then a discharge of that cold that's going to cool us right back down. Probably not in our lifetimes, but sometime in the next 1,000 years or so. But I trust God's promise. I believe in God. I believe the climate alarmism is being taken way to an extreme, and this extreme needs to end. And I truly believe we need to put our trust in God because he has already promised that he will not destroy the earth. So what we're seeing happen now are simply people that have strong ideas of what they think is going to happen, but none of this has been proven. Genesis 9:15, and I will remember my covenant, which is between me and you and every living creature of all flesh, and the waters shall no more become a flood to destroy all flesh. I truly believe we just need to stop trying to go fix something that doesn't need to be fixed, and that we need to put our faith in God because he is a great God, one that has blessed us in many ways. So I'm happy to pray for you guys. I believe in the power of prayer, and I truly believe that we can all make a difference in our small time on earth here. But what really matters is the ability for us to accept God, to go out in faith, to go out and believe in the unseen, and to live eternally with him because of the blood of the Lamb of Christ that has given us redemption if we so choose to believe in him. Hope you all have a wonderful Friday, and we'll see you again tomorrow afternoon. Take care.